The Darth Retro Podcast is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on intelligent subjects, but mostly just sports, music, and life. And now, here is your adorable host, Tom Wagner.
And welcome to the first ever Darth Retro Podcast. My name is Tom Wagner, and I will be your gracious host for this podcast. We're taping this just a little bit after 2:30 in on a kind of a cloudy Tuesday afternoon. It's the last day of July here in Fargo, North Dakota. Anyway, I just wanted to talk a little bit about some topics of Darth Knight. I went to see The Darth Knight Rises, and then we'll talk about a little bit some James Holmes stuff, what I think about that kind of situation going on out in Colorado, and a little bit some Olympic stuff, I think. So let's get started. But I suppose I should probably talk a little about myself first. I'm a 23-year-old college graduate. I just graduated about a few months ago at Minnesota State University, Moorhead, with a major in mass communications. It was Bachelor's of Science degrees, so it's definitely quite an accomplishment, if I do say so myself. I've lived here in Fargo for about 21 years. I was actually born in Flagstaff, Arizona, which is kind of quite a ways down southwest from here. And then about a year after, my family went to Henderson, Nevada to live there. It's pretty close to Las Vegas, if I remember right. I don't really remember much about Nevada, but I thought it was fun. And then when I mean we, my family, we came back to Fargo, North Dakota in about fall of '91, I believe. So it's been about 21 years. I've lived here for pretty much most of my life, actually. Anyway, basically for this podcast, I'm going to basically be talking about... It's basically going to be a sports-oriented podcast, but I think all those sports-oriented podcasts really talk about quite a bit some other stuff other than Barry Bonds' steroid problems or something like that. But if I find a movie very interesting to watch, I'll talk about it and talk about music and basically just life itself, basically. As for sports myself, I am pretty much a Red Sox fan. I am supposedly a Timberwolves fan, I suppose, even though they haven't been that great so far. I'm a Wild fan, NHL Wild fan. I think they're actually being pretty good with these moves, Parise. So yeah. Let's see, what else say I. I'm a Packers fan, in case you probably didn't know. Last season was quite a bit of a letdown once we got to the playoffs, into the divisional playoff game against the Giants, and that was probably one of the worst experiences of my life, watching that game, because I pretty much watched that whole entire game in its entirety, other than like the halftime show. But oh man. So I hope we do better this season. I'm also quite a bit of a soccer fan, or those who live across in Europe, it's called football. I'm a very big Liverpool Liverpool fan. actually quite surprisingly, since most people are like Manchester United fans around here. It's like oh, you're a bandwagoner. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, let's see, what else do I like. I'm pretty big into AC Milan from Italy. Even though I'm trying to get into being other other fans of like other football teams in Europe. But basically, I really just only stick to Europe football, other than MLS, which I believe sucks so bad. But that's just me. All right. Yeah. I like to follow the Cubs, Twins, in Major League Baseball. I like to follow kind of any other team in the NFL other than the Bears. I hate the Bears, and I hate the Vikings as well. But NBA, I suppose the Chicago Bulls, the Celtics. I kind of follow those teams. I hate the Lakers, and I hate the Yankees. I absolutely despise the Yankees, but that's just me. For NHL, other than being a Wild fan, I don't really pay attention to the National Hockey League. I guess I do watch the Stanley Cup and try and pick who's going to win that. But other than that, I don't really watch much of that. For golf, I basically do watch. Excuse me. I do watch Tiger Woods quite a bit, even though he hasn't been that great in the past 5 years. He hasn't won a major in 5 years or so. I believe that he can. I believe he can still beat the Golden Bears record of 18 majors, I think it was called. So, yeah, I think Tiger's gonna do it. That's just me. So last night I went to go see The Dark Knight in theaters. I had pretty big expectations for the Dark Knight Rises. I keep on saying Dark Knight just because it sounds shorter, but I'll try to keep on saying The Dark Knight Rises anyway. I had pretty big expectations from the movie, since really The Dark Knight was basically the huge step in Nolan's trilogy. I do think that it has to be one of the best Batman movies I've ever seen, and trust me, I've seen basically all of the non-animated Batman movies, ranging from the 60s Adam West Burt Ward movie of Batman 1966 to the modern Batman that we know and love today, from the Burton films to the Schumacher films, which are basically blah. And then the Nolan films that basically rescued the franchise. I'm gonna probably talk a little bit about how I feel the actors did, and I'll start with Batman, of course, who was played by Christian Bale, who did a very excellent job in this film, I believe. Of course, he did a very fantastic Bruce Wayne. And I think he did a pretty good job on Batman. I think the Michael Keaton version of Batman is probably the best example of it. Basically, I don't really care for Christian Bale's um, voice of Batman. It's like, it's like, yeah, dude, just stop trying so hard. Stop trying so hard. But yeah, I think Bale's Bruce Wayne is probably the best version of them all. Like if you picture Bruce Wayne being the rich playboy bachelor, happy-go-lucky kid who other than lives with his butler, basically has a pretty nice life other than being rich, having a company on the stock exchange. But I think Bale's portrayal of Bruce Wayne is best, and his portrayal of Batman is meh. It's alright. Let's talk about Tom Hardy's Bane, which I didn't really have that much expectations for Bane, other than I expected him to be basically evil. There were basically three versions of Bane that I've seen. There's like the animated Bane, which is what you see in the movie. Basically, just basically this wild dude that's like cooked on steroids and has like something in his head. And then there's the Schumacher version, which is I don't know. He definitely Robert Swenson, I believe, who portrays Bane in Batman Robin. Basically had the whole steroids thing. Basically had no personality, and there's the Tom Hardy version of Bane in the movie, and I think he did a very fantastic job with Bane. I don't know, it's like he's definitely quite the villain in that movie, and he does a very fantastic job being with the voice, and I think he had just quite a presence in the film. I'm not sure if he can top the Heath Ledger Joker plateau of Batman villains in the Batman movies, but he's definitely right up there with Ra's al Ghul, who is played by Liam Neeson, Jack Nicholson's Joker, and Heath Ledger's Joker. But yeah, Tom Hardy definitely had a good performance in that movie. And then you have Anne Hathaway, who portrays Selena Kyle and Catwoman in the movie. And basically, I think she kind of broke the trend of actors or actresses that basically broke the whole trend of the Batman villains stealing the show. I think Anne Hathaway stole the show. I mean, other than Michelle Pfeiffer's version of Catwoman, which is actually really good too. Not to take away anything from Michelle Pfeiffer's character, but Anne Hathaway's Catwoman's definitely right up there with the upper echelon of Batman characters. Of course, there's the Halle Berry Catwoman, which is, I don't know. I haven't seen Catwoman with Halle Berry, but maybe sometime if it's on, maybe I'll watch it. But I've heard bad things about it, which is kind of the reason why I don't want to watch it. Anyway, and you have Gary Oldman playing as Jim Gordon, Commissioner Jim Gordon. And basically, he didn't really have that much of a role as he did in the previous films. Of course, he. Well, maybe I shouldn't really talk about it all that much, but I think Gary Oldman is a very great actor, and he does the part of Commissioner Gordon very well, I think. So yeah. Other than the other characters in the movie, Jason Gordon-Levitt's portrayal of John Blake was definitely quite great too. I definitely do commend Christopher Nolan of choosing him for the character, which definitely has quite a bit of a plot twist to it later towards the end of the movie. But I'm not gonna say what. Let's just say that John Blake is someone that is someone that you can definitely know or relate to, that you really, really relate to. If you know what I mean. Let's see, basically the whole Pittsburgh Steelers cameo appearance. Bill Cowher was there. I didn't really see Cowher there. Apparently Big Ben Roethlisberger was there as well. Of course, Hines Ward, who basically stole the entire show, along with Anne Hathaway, to be honest with you. His explosive kick return for a touchdown is definitely one of the highlights of his career, and he definitely goes out with a bang, literally. But yeah, I definitely think Hines Ward definitely stole the whole entire show. Anyway, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about the movie. Do I consider it greater than like the other Batman movies, like the Burton films? Sure. It's actually definitely one of the It's definitely one of the greatest Batman movies that I've ever seen in my life. Of course, people have their opinions, of course, which makes this country really great. But I've seen basically all of the Batman movies, best and worst of them. I've seen the Adam West, Burt Ward 60s version of Batman, which is probably the most campiest ever. So for entertainment value, I think the 66 Batman 66 is definitely has a definite entertainment value to it. But do I consider it one of the greatest? No, not by a long shot. And then for about 23 years, there was basically kind of a hiatus of Batman, and Tim Burton basically revived the whole franchise with Batman '89, which is my favorite of the Burton films, with Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, Kim Basinger. It's before the Nolan films. It was my favorite Batman movie of all time. And then you have Batman Returns in '92, which had the returning cast of Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, and Danny DeVito as Penguin. I think Batman Returns is definitely a great film to, like, it plays second fiddle to Batman '89. It's definitely a great Batman film, to be honest with you. And then basically a change of director and actors for Batman Forever, which was directed by Joel Schumacher, which was pretty bland director. But, you know, Batman Forever is probably the best Schumacher Batman film, and that's not really saying much, you know. Val Kilmer does an alright job with Bruce Wayne and Batman. Then you have Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey, who that plays the Riddler, and Tommy Lee Jones playing as Two-Face. Yeah, I think it's definitely one of the better Schumacher films, which doesn't say that much. And then you have the abomination that is Batman and Robin from '97, which I thought as a kid, I thought it was like probably the best thing around. Like, and boy, I was wrong. Boy, I was wrong. Years later, basically the whole entire actor's career, like George Clooney's career, basically survived after that. Arnold Schwarzenegger's career basically, he still existed after that movie. Uma Thurman went down for a couple years until Quentin Tarantino saved her career in Kill Bill. But, you know, I think basically the most hit from being in that movie is Chris O'Donnell and Alicia Silverstone. Of course, Chris O'Donnell played Robin, and Alicia Silverstone played Batgirl in that movie. And basically, Chris O'Donnell's career basically comes down to it as being the co-star who played the guide to Al Pacino and Scent of a Woman, and basically the Robin from the Schumacher films. And basically after that, I haven't heard much of Chris O'Donnell after Batman and Robin. And Alicia Silverstone, I'm sure she did some other things, but I didn't hear much about Alicia Silverstone after that. I know she was on the Graham Norton show like a couple years back, but other than that, I haven't heard that much from her, you know. But after Batman and Robin, there was actually supposed to be like another Schumacher Batman film in '99, which luckily didn't happen. And basically for 8 years, you had to live through the whole... I believe that the Nolan films were going to be the ones that would save the franchise. But that's really just me after watching that movie. When I first heard that Batman Begins was coming, I was a little skeptical. I mean, who couldn't be? Like, here you had Burton, who basically revived the franchise, and then you had Schumacher, who destroyed the franchise, nearly destroyed the franchise. And about after a year after Batman Begins came into the theaters, I decided I wanted to watch it, so I was a little bit skeptical about watching it, but it was actually quite that good. Like, I thought coming into it, I didn't have that much expectations for the movie, but damn, you know, it's this is like something like the start of something big, you know. And I realized that coming into when The Dark Knight came out in 2008, and basically I was blown away by it. Completely blown away by it. You know, you had Heath Ledger, who basically stole the entire movie, who unfortunately died after production was over, so they didn't really have to reshoot the scenes that were necessary for the movie. But if there was a reason for Heath Ledger to go out with a bang, his portrayal with the Joker is definitely one of the best performances by an actor that I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, I think it's definitely one of the best Batman movies around. I think it's second on my list for the best Batman movies. And then you have The Dark Knight Rises, which basically is the end of the Nolan trilogy with Batman, which I already talked about. You know, I'm not going to go into much about the rest, a whole lot about the rest of the Batman series. I'm sure there's going to be more Batman movies coming in the future, but if there was any reason for the Batman movies to end for like the rest of eternity, why not just end it with The Dark Knight Rises? Just absolutely blown away by it. So, on to the next topic. Well, I'm sure most of you have heard of the Aurora, Colorado shootings with James Holmes being arrested, and after injuring about, from I heard, 50 people and killing about 12. I'm pretty sure the number has risen over the few weeks, but you know, why bother shooting those people when they did absolutely nothing to you, you know? It's just one of those odd things that happened. Unfortunately, it was tragic as well. I mean, basically those people just went to go see a movie and to enjoy the movie, which it was a midnight premiere, and I remember that because it was on July 20th or 21st. It was a midnight premiere, but unfortunately I had to work that night, so I couldn't really jump ship and head to a movie theater to be one of the first people to watch the movie. But you definitely have to feel so sorry for those victims. It's just, it really has brought up quite a bit of talk about gun control, which I certainly believe. I certainly believe that there should be more regulations on gun control. I mean, I do believe in the Second Amendment that people should defend themselves from like burglars and such, but from what I heard, basically James Holmes dressed up as Rambo and basically had a bulletproof vest, a gas mask full of gas canisters, and basically a semi-automatic, and that basically could shoot 100 rounds per minute. Now think about it. For about 15 seconds, he could shoot about 25 rounds into people. That's not good, you know. That's not necessary. That's definitely not necessary. Like, sure, maybe a hunting rifle for use of only defending yourself, but why? Why have all this stuff when you can have tragedies? What happened in the Colorado theater shootings? It's just not necessary, you know. I'm pretty sure some people will have differing opinions on what I think, but that's just my opinion. I believe the Second Amendment should have its limits, but people should be able to defend themselves. But when you have that much weaponry and armor, it's just not necessary, But that's just my take on that. Next topic. And so the last topic for this podcast is a little bit some Olympic coverage. Probably the biggest news that I've heard from the Olympics is that Michael Phelps ended up being in fourth place, while Ryan Lochte ended up in first in one of the events. I don't remember what the event was, but I'm not really too surprised about Michael Phelps being what he was back a few days back. I just don't think how someone like Michael Phelps, who had this extraordinary accomplishment of having 8 gold medals in the Beijing Olympics in '08, and have the same success that he did in '08. I just didn't think that was possible. But in one of the events, he was basically about faster than a bolt of lightning to end up finishing ahead. I don't remember how much the time difference was, but it was like a hundredth of a second, or a tenth of a second, but that was basically the difference from him being one of the most celebrated athletic performances in Olympic history to basically just being just a normal Olympiad. But I'm not really surprised by Michael Phelps ended up being second fiddle to Ryan Lochte. Brian Lochte was kind of the sidekick to Michael Phelps, to me. Michael Phelps, back in Beijing, was basically the toast of the town. And basically 4 years later in London, I don't know, Ryan Lochte seems to be the basically what Phelps was, the rising star that definitely had a chip on his shoulder, you know. But that's just me. But, you know, do I believe that Michael Phelps will get... I do believe that Michael Phelps will get gold medals for this Olympics, but do I believe that he will have the same success as he did in Beijing? No, I don't believe so. Anyway, this is the ending of the first Darth Retro podcast. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to email me at tommusicfan19@gmail.com. And we will try to see you a little bit probably next week, maybe. I'm going to try to make this be like a weekly podcast, but we'll see what happens. I might change the title of it, but that's just my idea. Anyway. Alright, well, I guess we'll see you probably next week. Later. Thank you for downloading the Darth Retro Podcast. For more great podcasts, stay tuned. Peace out.